Outward is an excellent RPG that is rife with danger, risk versus reward style gameplay, and an open world feeling that is missing in most RPGs, and the mystery and intense consequences of Outward is really what sets it apart and makes it the kind of cult following it has acquired since it launched a few years back. Since then, it has also launched DLC, one of them called The Three Brothers and also The Sorboreans, which has been met with high praise. And basically, if you haven't played Outward yet, then May 17th, a week from the date of this recording, could be an excellent day for you. And of course, that's May 17th. 2022. This is because Outward Definitive Edition launches on May 17th, 2022, and it includes the base game of Outward, enhanced with quality of life and balance adjustments with some new content such as new dungeon bosses and scenarios, along with more diseases that are possible to acquire. And of course, Outward Definitive Edition comes with the DLCs, The Three Brothers and The Sorboreans. Oh, and if you already own Outward and the DLC The Three Brothers, you can claim the Outward Definitive Edition for free, which is really cool, and I love it when they do that. So Outward to me is one of the most powerful RPGs to launch in a very long time. I believe the way it handles exploration and discovery is top notch, and the way it handles death is absolutely fantastic and really ends up shaping your adventure. Let me explain Outward a bit more for you. Say you fell and get surrounded by wolves and you die. Instead of just respawning somewhere or starting back at your save point, various random things could happen. Since it was wolves, they may drag you back to their den, and your bags of items you have on you might be left behind, or perhaps they're still on you. In any case, you wake up in their den and the wolves are prowling, maybe they're sleeping. You must escape and get your stuff back. Or maybe they left your body and a random adventurer found you and dragged you to town, or found a healer for you. Or maybe just set you up at a camp spot with a note. All these things and more are possible in Outward, and it really is so much more powerful, honestly, than I am even making it sound like. I got killed by bandits one time and woke up in a prison camp and went through a really cool quest type scenario to break myself free and then sneak into their camp and get my stuff back. It was fantastic. It was like it was part of the story, but it wasn't. I actually failed and got killed by bandits, and that's what caused this adventure to happen. Outward just makes everything that happens to you feel so natural, like a D&D campaign. At the end of the day, you will be celebrating very small victories just as excitedly as the big ones. And Outward never tells you how to play or what to do. It doesn't point you directly where to go. It gives you enough information for you to figure it out. And I knew they had done something right when I was quested to head off to a faraway city across a desert and was actually scared and spent an hour or two trying to prep myself for such a long journey. You gotta think, in most RPGs, you would just unenthusiastically just take off through the lands. But in Outward, I knew there would be consequences. I needed extra water, for example. I would need enough rations. I would need better gear. Who knows what awaits me on this perilous trip? Now, another thing I want to mention is the magic system. I thought it was really good as well. It's so just deliberate in how you cast, and you can make your own effects by the way you combine different abilities. Not to mention how with most spells you have to lay out a sigil first with components and then cast from that. It's very cool, and it makes casting feel, I want to say it just kind of feels very low fantasy and more special and meaningful. Oh, and you have to unlock the magic. It's not something you just start the game being able to do, and it's quite the epic adventure, and therefore the reward is just so much more impactful. The other thing I really appreciate about Outward that makes it stand out is that you're just some guy. Yeah, you can learn how to fight, you can get better gear, etc. But at the end of the day, you're not some grand chosen one with special dragon powers or some god has bestowed upon you. You're just some dude, and the world treats you like that. And did I mention that Outward just refuses to hold your little hand, and it demands that you figure things out, and how terrifying it can be to find and explore a dungeon filled with creatures that can tear you limb from limb. Oh, and you think you can just save a lot and reload a save when you mess up? That's a big nope. Not in Outward. They really wanted you to shape your own adventure and for you to be susceptible to whatever happens out there in the world. So saves are handled internally, therefore there isn't any of that load save cheating nonsense. This, mixed with the way the death penalty works in Outward, is a combination for making you behave much more carefully and plan a lot more before you do anything rash. In reality, the size of the world isn't as big, I'd like to say, as it feels like when playing it. Due to the way the game works, you will feel like it's a very massive place, but once you've truly explored everything, which will take a really long time, I'd like to mention, you will realize that it's the systems in the game and the way that it works that makes it feel so huge. Now, it's not tiny, but it's not as big as it feels like when during your first playthrough. And let's talk replayability, because in Outward, it takes many playthroughs to try out all the factions and see everything the game has to offer. And this is because your decisions will change the story, because it will be different depending on your choice. For example, pretty early in the game, what faction you decide to join. And it's also worth mentioning with the Sorboreans expansion added a whole new faction to make it even more interesting. Now, before we continue, I want to take a moment to say thank you to the sponsors of this channel, the members of Napalm. Since this channel is completely sponsored by the community, their contributions make this possible. If you want to join, scroll down below the video and hit the join button for more information. After this special thank you to the community, we will continue with more about Outward, so don't go nowhere. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to the members of Napalm. Thanks to your contributions, this channel is able to produce the content and get the equipment and gear necessary to keep this channel alive and improving. Thank you. And if you are interested in becoming a member of the channel and helping support my YouTube journey, please click join down below for a list of options starting as low as $1.99 per month. Please, I'm hungry. And I want to give a very special shout out to the Lords of Napalm, Bounty Code, We Toke Bitcoins, Jared Woodhouse, Daimlos, Farthest Reach, Not Sid, and Sparrow. Thank you for your highest tier membership. Now on to the video. Now, Outward has some slight survival type features as well, I need to mention, but trust me, it feels like a role-playing game to its core. But you need to eat, you need to drink water, and you need to rest, and weather and things like that can affect you as well, and you have to treat wounds properly. So when you're out in the wild, use a bedroll and a campfire, for example. If you get cold, a fire could help, or finding shelter. You can also contract diseases or infections from wounds, as I mentioned earlier, but you can treat those in a way like wrap them in bandages and things like that to help, or you can get sick from exhaustion and so much more. And with the Definitive Edition, they are adding even more to that already pretty cool and vast palette. Now, Outward is an RPG that didn't want to be like any other RPG and really wanted you to truly feel like you are the character, and it takes your failures and turns them into new adventures. And to put it simply, it's just an experience that any RPG fan really just owes it to themselves to give it a shot. And if you think any of what I said about Outward sounds interesting, on May 17th, when the Definitive Edition launches for PC, PS4, or Xbox One, it would be an excellent time for your adventures in Outward to begin. And don't forget that if you already own Outward and at least the Three Brothers DLC, you get the Definitive Edition at no cost. And why not head out on your own role-playing adventure and risk the perils of the road and the dark, twisting labyrinths of dungeons to find your own story and to share those as well. It is rare that we get a unique and interesting title like Outward, and I highly recommend you don't let this one slip away without experiencing it. I highly enjoyed my time with it, and since I'll be going full-time here on June 1st on YouTube, I very well may add this to my stream schedule to play with you all, especially with the release of the Definitive Edition coming up. And I forgot to mention something very important, which is that Outward is multiplayer. You can play with one other person, so you can co-op play this online or couch co-op with split screen. Now it is your turn though. Let me know down in the comments down below what you think of Outward, or if you plan to play it for the first time, let me know. Have you already played it? Some of your adventures that you've had, whatever you want to share, let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new here and enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that like button to help me battle the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.